Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So, fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. All right, guys, welcome. Episode 52. It's been a year.
We made it.
We made it.
Did you
remember when we started this? I didn't even think we was going to make like 10 episodes.
Well, I think after you said, "Hey, we should do this podcast thing," I think the first thing you said was, most podcasts only do like 8 episodes or 10 episodes, and like, well, let's just see how it turns out. And we did the first one, and if I remember right, we didn't do video.
No. Nope.
And we were just trying to figure out the software and all that kind of stuff. But perseverance, man, we made it to 52. Yeah. It's like a race. Yeah, it's like an ultra endurance race. It's like it ain't always pretty, but it gets done.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I can't believe it. It's funny because you try to think about, do we want to do something special for this episode and all that, and we're like, it's been a lot. I mean, we've packed a lot of content in this 52 episodes. Yeah. And I know we've repeated some things, and hopefully we won't get hit too hard by the listenership for doing that too many times. But as we were doing the show prep here, I was like, oh man, I am getting so excited because we got some things to come, and it is going to be a ton of fun. And I can't wait till we can start making more of it public, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So,
Well, the first thing I want to do is thank everybody that listens to this every week, everybody that shares this, everybody that, comes and says hi to us at these events and say they listen to our podcast and they enjoy it and stuff like that. So I really you guys are the reason we're doing it, and hopefully you continue to enjoy it and continue to share it with your friends and, make it, something that we all can be super proud of. So, I want to
real quick while you're on that. I think it was really cool because we had at a couple of different events after our first 8 or 10 episodes. It wasn't very far in, and we had a couple people come up and say hi to us, like, "Hey, you're the SufferSooner guys." I'm like, wait a minute. It was.
I thought just our parents listened to this.
Exactly.
To this podcast.
I hope they didn't think I was a jerk, because I'm like, I can't believe they even know what that is, and it's kind of humbling in a lot of ways. I mean, we just do this because we love talking about these things, and we were, the whole idea came up when we were on a long ride, and Travis is like, there's really not a lot of information out there about what we do, and there's not a lot of content unless you want to go talk about pros all day long. And so, again, I don't want to peek too far ahead, but just stay tuned for the later parts of this episode, because there's some really cool things that we have in mind, and then also have a fun section, rapid fire. But I think we've evolved the show, and we've tried to take some feedback from people that have been willing to share that with us, and it's all about making it better. So yes, the people that are listening week in, week out, even if you're just popping in from time to time, thank you so much. So awesome.
So yeah, first, I want to thank Serena for coming on, in the times that she could. I know she's super busy, and, she's got 3 young kids and they're in sports, and it's just, anytime that we got Serena come on, at least in those first couple episodes, was really great. And then when she finished her Ironman, and then after Unbound and all that other stuff, it was really great to have her on. Yeah. It's just, it was awesome. Loved having her on. She'd come on again anytime, I'm sure. But it's just with her schedule, it's crazy. So
yeah, and
totally understandable,
it's fun to get her perspective on things.
Yes.
We've both known her for a while now, and she has it's so funny because every time we'll talk about something, she's like, well, I have a different point of view, or I have a different way of thinking about that. And we're like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, So yeah. I think too, just getting her perspective, because it's, we know how tough this stuff is, with family life and everything. But to your point, I mean, she's got younger kids than we do, so it's a much different experience for her to fit all of this stuff in and get it all done. And And I think it's important that people know that you can do that. You know,
Yep.
there's a way to make that happen. And
Yeah.
she epitomizes that, and it's awesome to see. And a couple other folks too that we've talked to along the way, but it's just really fun to hear her perspective on things. So I can't wait to get her back on.
Yep. Britta telling us all about her ultra swimming stuff. Adrian, who's a coach for Move Up Cycling down in southern part of Kansas City. You know, Eric from Open Range when he came on. Giga Chad, got to thank you for making me a better cyclist, because I got a picture of you. I got the Open Range picture of you hanging in my basement, so I know to chase you down. Katie Renner for doing all the things that Katie Renner does. She helps out so much on the triathlon side in the city of Kansas City. So she's really great. Steve Zimmer for Cowboy Up, just coming on and telling us all about Cowboy Up and the fact that it's going to be on again for the foreseeable future. Linda and Steve for allowing us to stay over at their house in Colorado.
That made that trip possible.
They basically made that trip possible. Super great staying with them and having fun with them. Sharon from Endurance Running PT, super great lady, helped me with my running. I'm looking forward to having her help me even more after I get done with this half marathon. Glue Toper Doc for coming on. He basically elevated the podcast to a new level for sure, for coming on and sharing his glue doping stuff with us. Bobby Thompson from Discover Gravel. It's going to be really great. Going to have some good things coming out of that relationship that we've got with him. And then I'm sure everybody, and then again, I want to thank everybody else who listens to this. You know, if you're listening every week, like really, it helps. It really just helps us continue to do what we do.
I got one more, and I know you meant to lead off with it. I know you did, but got to thank our wives and families for for putting up with this, because I can't tell you how many times we'll get done with a recording or we'll be talking about some ideas for the podcast, and then I go talk to my wife about it, and you know, just before her eyes glaze over and roll to the back of her head, I usually get some kind of like acknowledgement, like, hey, that's not a bad idea, or yeah, you know, I don't know about that one. But it doesn't last very long, because it does. I mean, you only get about 20 seconds of attention before she's tired of hearing about it. But all kidding aside, I mean, you know, they put up with a lot from us for the time that we spend training, the time that we spend doing the podcast, the time and the money that we spend on doing these things because we love doing it, and couldn't do it without them and without their support. So gotta thank them too.
Yeah, they the family that just they're always, my family's always asking about how the podcast is going and all that other stuff. So just super thanks to all those people, everybody. Again, thank you guys so much.
All right, so it's been a year. And
it's been a year.
And it's been a year. There's a lot of ways to say it and take that comment, but it's been a year.
Yeah.
And you know, when we were talking about what we wanted to do for this episode, and I went back and I listened to the very first episode, because you couldn't watch it. I mean, you could watch it, but it was just 3 boxes, right? It was just us and Serena. And so wow. That was rough.
Yeah.
I applaud. I think it had, I forget how many listeners it had. It was not our most watched episode, so that, I guess, that's good. But however many unique people watched that episode, I applaud you for making it through it. That was rough.
And if you're still with us, thank you.
It's been a learning experience. This is really, really fun to do this stuff. So it's been a year. And I think, did you pull a clip?
I did pull some stuff. I did pull the video. So let's just watch a little bit of it.
Great intro.
Great intro there, right?
That's heck. You know, the music for the intro, you know, that was just some generic music off the platform we're on. And then we decided about, I don't know what episode it was, about a month or so into it. And I said, hey, I've got some software. I can probably whip something up real quick. And so now we've got our own.
Yeah, the intro and outro is a Danny special. That's all Danny proprietary music right there.
If you're interested in booking.
Yeah.
All right. Roll it.
Yeah. So that was the old intro, and then here we are. I think the topics are kind of the same. Here we are talking about Unbound.
You do a great job. But Travis, what do you think is the best distance? You know, you set the cost aside for a minute. You don't worry about the expense of it, but just what is the best distance for this event? What do you?
What a terrible question. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we upgraded into some mics, and we got some video. We got some ring lights, so we don't look so washed out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went ahead and did some quality of life upgrades, I guess, for everybody else.
Well, I think we made it past like 8 or so episodes, and that's when I was like, you know what, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna start doing it right. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna buy a mic, I'm gonna buy lights, I'm gonna, and I just finally bought a green screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way it works, right? You just kind of start building it, and then it's like, well, this is fun. I think I can keep doing this. And
yeah, so we kept kind of investing in stuff, and keep going.
Yeah, what else we got cooking here?
So,
and probably 2 miles down the road, hitting the first gravel section, the downpour of just torrential rain starts hitting and just pelting me in the face the whole time. Like that rain was ridiculous. And I think when I got to one of the B roads, I could see water starting to fill up in the different in the gullies and the tire tracks. And last year there's a lot of
that he just leaves the bike here.
That's right.
That's just wild, right?
So that I mean, just the overall quality has come up, I would hope. I mean, I'm the guy that does the editing, so I do hear our voices a lot, but the overall the editing, the voice quality has come so much further. Serena's, of course, is a lot better. She was way ahead of the game because her job makes it so that she, has to be heard and seen and all that other stuff. So she didn't really have to do much to outshine us for sure. We were just hanging on her coattails in the beginning.
And it's funny because you're always your own worst critic. But when I hear myself talk there, I'm like, do I really talk that slow? I think it's
so now we talk a lot faster. I think
because a lot more natural,
a lot more natural.
Like, I think that was one of the first things we noticed after listening to first 3 or 4 episodes was it doesn't feel natural. It felt like robots, and like it wasn't. I mean, we don't script anything. I mean, we're not that cool, but it's like it just didn't feel normal and natural, and it took a while. I mean, and then especially when we got on camera, it was really hard to do. And I talk on meetings all day long for work, but it was still just different. So good stuff.
Issues that really slow me down in the second half. So my goal is totally different. I want to finish that race before they won't let me across the line anymore. And I think Travis gives me a hard time because I set my goals sometimes too low. But that's all I really want out of Unbounded 200 is to say that I did it on my first try.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was
once
good.
Again, once again, Serena's a natural. I mean, what can you say? So
yeah. So I mean, yeah, her mark quality and all that stuff was so much better. So yeah, that's just a little peek of where we came from, where we're going, and where we've gone basically.
Yeah. So it is fun to look back at some of that stuff, and it's only been a year, but how fast that you kind of learn about these things, like how to do this. And when we started, we had no idea. I mean, we just like, well, let's just get on the software and chat about things. Like I think we've gotten better about show prep and like topics and trying to keep things interesting. And I think it kind of shows as we now look down like what's in the year ahead. And I don't know if you want to get into that right now, but it's like there's some really cool things, and it's just like, wow, like we've changed so much in a year. I cannot wait to see where this thing is a year from now, because like we're starting to get better with just the mechanics of the podcast recording stuff, that the editing side. As you mentioned, you've been doing the editing, and I'm going to try to figure out how to do some of it to help out there, and it's going to be fun. So what do you got coming next?
So I I when we started this, I tried to do like a goal every month. That like so the first thing was just record every week for the month, and then after that it was like, okay, I think it was like get better mics, and then we did that, and then it was make shorts and put those on YouTube, and then it was adding the video, and then now it's this title card now that you see behind us, that gives all the cool things where you can find us at on Facebook and Spotify and Instagram and all that other stuff. So like every month that we've gone through this podcast, we've tried to step up the game every month. And so going forward, we're going to step up the game even more with me and you being basically in the same room now.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's going to bring a little bit more of the dynamic that kind of happens as we chat through these topics, especially when we're out on rides and stuff like that. But I think having the in-person recording gives us a lot more flexibility too around the video editing, as you mentioned, the short creations and all that, the audio tracks. I mean, and this gets kind of more into the technical side that people may not care about, but I think it's going to give us a more polished product. And for those that actually watch the video on YouTube or Spotify, if you actually watch the video image, we're going to start pulling in more, hopefully more race footage and event footage and things like that. So you can kind of see some of the action that's really going on. And then when we do interviews, things like that, we can have, just have a bit more dynamic, like I said, more polished product. I'm really excited about that. I mean, the technical side is something I know very little about and would love to learn more about it. So if there's folks out there that know this stuff and have already had experience, please share it. We would love to hear about it. But yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah, and we're going to look to expand to different platforms, like a TikTok or something like that, like moving into a multimedia way of promoting this podcast for sure. As far as the direction of this podcast is concerned, we really want to be the podcast that everybody in this 4-state area, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa can turn to find out where triathlon and gravel events are happening. I think that's the biggest hurdle for anybody. We talk about this ad nauseum on our long rides and runs and stuff, is that, how do you find out about the next race? How do you find out about this stuff? And I mean, we even talked to Bobby about it. There's just not really a concise area or resource that you can go to find out what's coming next. Usually you go to the first race and that's how you find out about the next race.
Right.
And then you find out about the next race from that next race. And then, and that's usually how it goes, but we'd like it to be more that people come here and they find out about a lot of races that are going on in the area that they can go to. And then, I've been in the talks with Katie and those guys, and they're looking at starting a youth team, triathlon team. And so, we're going to try to keep it family friendly here so that, all the youth Hulkamaniac triathletes out there can come to this podcast and find out, where they're going to be racing at and where their next great race is. So.
One of the things we love talking about is getting more people involved in the sports and getting more engagement in the sports and growing, right? We talked with several race directors in the episodes about, are the sports growing? Are the events growing? Or are you getting, sort of the repeat customers, which is great, but you also know that the participants are aging too, like the average age of your event. If it's creeping up, into the, 50s and 60s and you're not getting enough young blood in there to keep the sport going. And one of the, we also talk a lot about the cost and the cost being a barrier to entry. And we can't do a lot about that ourselves, you and I, we don't run a shop. We don't produce and manufacture components. So we can't directly affect the cost of as a barrier to entry. But what we can do is knowledge is a barrier of entry for a lot of people. They just don't know where to start. The other thing that I think we've talked a lot about is the intimidation factor. If you've never done this before, Like how many times we say it, like, we didn't wake up one morning and go, you know what? I think 200 miles in the Flint Hills and just burying myself for 17 hours sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect
nobody
Saturday.
says that. Yeah, right. Nobody says that. Oh, and never mind all the training it takes to get there, because that's a lot of fun too. I mean, training's fun, but so I think one of the things that we've really want to do is be a way to help reduce the intimidation factor. Like,
Yep.
you know what? There are no shortage of sources to get the pro level knowledge if that's what you want, or if you want to be elite coached and that sort of thing, and you have the physical attributes, that's all out there. It's just a matter of money, if you want to spend the money or not. But for folks that have never done this, are like, hey, you know what? I don't mind. I like to ride my bike a few miles up and down the road, but maybe I want to challenge myself a little bit more. And I just don't know how to get started. Like, it's intimidating to ride a 50-mile, gravel ride if you've never done it before. And all you've ever done is 10 or 15 miles, and you hear about these race events and you think you have to be fast. No, it's not. I love the way Bobby put it in the interview with him, that gravel is all about the adventure.
Yep.
And that's the way it started out. And that's the way I think it should be for most people. And anyway, I think if we can help with that, help lower that barrier to entry and make it more accessible to people. I don't think people in general want to avoid difficult things. I mean, I used to think that. I think they just don't know where to get started, and they don't know they don't know what it means to really go out and challenge yourself.
Well, and they also think, the bike industry does a really good effort of, if you're not riding the latest version of this gravel bike, then you shouldn't even show up. Like you're already conceding to last place. And it's like, that's not what any of this is about. Even in triathlon, like you can do triathlon on a regular, drop bar bike or a mount. I've seen people do it on a mountain bike. That's the beauty of the sport, the sports that we choose, is that, the same thing with triathlon. Like, I never started out triathlon going, you know what, one day I'm going to do an Ironman. I was basically opposed to doing an Ironman all the way up until I finally did one. And then I was like, okay, I guess I can do it. But, but it's like, you don't have to do these big things to feel accomplishment. I mean, that's the beauty about triathlon. That's the beauty about gravel, is that you can just finishing the thing is itself the reward.
Right.
Really. You're doing more than what, Sally and Joe are doing sitting on the couch. You're out there doing something. And if you don't train all year, that's fine. If you just train 3 months out of the year, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we really want to move this podcast into a realm of being a source for people to find out about local events, or just have a good time about what's going on here, in the Quad State area, in the Midwest, and just be that source for people to come to and hopefully laugh at us, because I think I'm funny sometimes.
Well, funny looking, but that's fine.
Yeah, funny looking, whatever.
But was that you said last week when we were talking about changing up our video format? You're like, well, we have great faces for radio, so it's a good point.
Definitely, yeah. I don't. So, but yeah, I mean, we're looking at getting involved in some of this up and coming stuff that's happening here in the Midwest. That's really that we're getting behind. People see the value in our podcast and they want to be a part of that. So all we can do is just keep sharing, the good word of all of this stuff. So, I can't wait to see what the next year brings. It'll be great to come look back on this episode and see how much has changed, next year and stuff. So
I'm really excited too about using this platform as an opportunity to sort of tell stories that don't often get told. Like we tell a lot of stories from our perspective, from our experiences, but when you get to some of these races and there's several hundred or even several thousand people, and every individual has a story. Like you played that little clip there about the guy walking off from his bike and all that. Like, I can't wait to hear some of the stories that we're going to get told by some of the different finishers that, whether it be the Gravel Cup or whether it be some other local event or some other triathlon. I can't wait to hear it, because one of the things about racing is everybody does have their own individual unique experience. And when you tell those stories, you learn from each other too. Like, how many times have we talked about, Well, look at like my Humphreys experience last year when I, didn't have the right nutrition and, salt concentration, electrolyte concentration, and I totally just dehydrated and bonked. Like, I learned a valuable lesson from that, and hopefully somebody else out there did too. And I can't, like I said, it's going to be super exciting to hear the stories, and I'm really looking forward to it. And, so cool.
Yeah. So,
and then also, you mentioned the youth triathlon, right?
Yep.
And that's going to be really exciting.
Yep.
I know when Katie was on, we talked a little bit about the different youth initiatives that she has, and we're super excited about that. And I kind of alluded to it, but you got to get younger kids and younger people into these sports. One of the things I think, and I think this is fairly common. One of the things I've kind of thought about my own experience with this is, man, I wish I would have been doing this stuff when I was like in my late 20s, even earlier 20s, but definitely by my late 20s. Cause I mean, that's a lot of years of training that I could be a lot better right now.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and do it, of course. But I think if you can help somebody get into this early and they don't find themselves later in life going, man, I wish I would have established these really good habits, a long time ago. I'm convinced that this is a really good path to just stay healthy. I mean, how many times we see older folks on the bike or in a triathlon that are in their 70s, some in the 80s. We've even seen some 90-year-olds that are out there just doing these ridiculous efforts. And you're just like, good on you. I hope I can do that someday.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully just helping people establish really good habits and stay healthy and challenge themselves and have fun doing it. So,
yeah. Yeah, good. So, I mean, look forward to some more, exciting stuff coming from us for sure. And
we got a couple of things we can't quite say. I really want to, but I know we
want
to.
So hopefully when all the things are, able to be discussed, we will talk ad nauseum about them for sure, because we are super excited. So, just know that we got some stuff in the works that, we're going to be, promoting some local events here and doing some really good, really great stuff coming up. So,
it'll be, keep an eye on social media because it's going to hit there first for sure.
Yeah.
So
definitely follow us on social. That's the first place to look. Instagram's the best. And so that's what we got coming this year. It's
nice.
going to only get better and better. So,
well, and the one thing I would ask of the folks listening is don't be afraid to comment or even just send us an email. Like, go old school and send us an email. I'd give you a mailing address if you want to mail a letter. I don't care. We take feedback. I love to hear people like, hey, you repeated yourself too much. Can you talk about this? Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, I mean, feel free to give us some suggestions too. And like, what are some areas, like what are some things maybe we aren't talking about that you'd love to hear more about?
Yeah, that you
love digging into it.
Because again, you're only hearing it from, us two, and we do talk to people as much as we can. I talk to all my athletes and stuff and get kind of what the deal is going on with them lately and locally and what's happening. But, it's only, people kind of within our circles. So if we're talking about stuff and you want us to go more in depth about, whatever, like we can definitely do that. Or if we're not talking about a certain subject that you want us to talk about, then definitely reach out, let us know, leave us a comment, email us, whatever, get in touch with us for sure. And we'll definitely start talking about it. So
sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you ready for the next topic?
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
So
rapid fire is something we threw in, I don't know, a few episodes back. It's been a little bit now. And so this is our segment where we like to have ChatGPT ask us some challenging questions and just kind of get Travis's initial reaction off of it. And then I like to throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So this week, since we didn't really do a topic-based episode, we're just kind of giving a state of the state and recapping our year.
Yep.
I thought, you know what? I was watching, well, first of all, I was watching a show. I don't watch many TV shows, but I was watching a show, and they had their end of year recap obviously at the end of last year, before they went on holiday break. And one of the things they did was they asked an AI engine to roast each other. And it was freaking phenomenal. It was hilarious. I had never laughed so hard in my life, because these people. I watch them, almost every day.
Yeah,
and because they have a daily show, and so when you ask AI to roast somebody, and then it absolutely nailed them and their personalities and everything. I'm like, that's when AI is like pretty fun, like that.
Yeah.
Good comedy. So I was like, in prep for this show, I was like, I wonder if, because we like to use Chat GPT because it's the most obvious one, it's the most popular one right now. I wonder if Chat GPT knows enough about SufferSooner to be able to roast us.
Yeah.
So guess what? It does. Like, I feel
That's
like we've
great.
made it, Travis. We've made
We
it.
made it.
We're on the radar.
Yeah.
So I got yours, and then I'll do mine.
Okay.
So I've got yours first, and I'm going to do my best to read this without losing it, because I pre-read a few. I didn't read the whole thing, but I pre-read a couple of sentences just to make sure it makes sense, and it's not some garbled response. Travis, they know you, man.
I'm sure
you.
it's not hard.
This is really scary, because you don't post a lot of stuff online, like as
No.
far as like personal like goals and ambitions and things like that. Dude, they know you. This is scary. So, all right, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Oh shit,
I'm
I
scared.
can't wait. I cannot wait. I hope I don't just lose it laughing. All right, so bear with me. All right. Travis's roast from ChatGPT. Welcome back to SufferSooner, the podcast where we talk about people pushing their limits. But today we're talking about Travis, a man who doesn't just push his limits, he drop kicks them off a cliff, and then complains about how much it hurt. Let's get straight to it. Travis doesn't train. He wages war against his own body. Every session is a battlefield. Every interval is a declaration of stubbornness, and every long ride is a masterclass in how to make your future self hate you. If overdoing it was a sport, Travis wouldn't just win. He'd set a world record, forget he said it, and then try to break it again the next day. Let's talk about his half marathon training. Travis says he's aiming for a 7:30 pace, but let's be honest. He's going to go out at 6:50, convince himself he feels great, hit mile 5 thinking he's invincible, then hit mile 9 and start seeing visions of his ancestors. By mile 11, it's not even about PRs anymore. It's about survival. The only thing keeping him moving is sheer spite and the knowledge that if he stops, he'll have to admit he made yet another bad pacing decision. And then there's Unbound 200. Oh, buddy. Travis says he wants to sustain multiple attacks. You know what he'll actually sustain? Catastrophic self-inflicted damage. He'll follow every single move, burn every match in the book, and by mile 140, he'll be so cooked his bike computer will start showing his own obituary. By 175, Travis won't be attacking anyone. He'll be in full keep pedaling or die mode. His hydration plan, gone. Nutrition plan, purely theoretical. The only thing keeping him upright will be the faint hope that the finish line still exists somewhere beyond the horizon of pain. And you already know what's going to happen after the race. He's going to sit there covered in dirt, dehydrated, and bad decisions and say, man, that sucked. I think I went out too hard. Anyway, next year I'm going to train even harder. Travis, my dude, my guy, you don't need to train harder. You need to train smarter. You need to stop treating every workout like a life or death mission and start pacing like someone who actually values not suffering a slow, painful death on course. But let's be real, you won't, because deep down you love it. You love the grind, the struggle, the suffering. You don't just endure pain. You invite it over for dinner, tuck it into bed, and then set your alarm for 4 a.m. to do it all over again. And that's why we respect you, because no matter how much you suffer, no matter how much you regret your life choices mid-race, you'll never give up, never quit, even when every part of your body is begging you to. So here's to Travis, king of poor pacing, lord of the late race bonk, an undisputed champion of suffering way more than necessary. Now go out there and make bad decisions and tell us about it later.
Man.
Is that
I was worried there at the beginning, but then it just started ticking off all the boxes.
Right? Oh my gosh.
I was like, wait, I don't remember sharing my fueling plan for Unbound.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Isn't that great?
Oh my gosh.
Your reaction.
I mean, I want to say it goes a little better than that, but again, I don't think so. I think once that bib number comes on, all logic leaves my brain, and it's just hammerfest, no matter what.
I I don't, I think the half marathon pacing thing that feels like what happened last year at the marathon. Except obviously you had to take that little pit stop at the halfway point, but yeah, man, you were just hanging on for dear life at the end, just like everybody else does. But woo, man, I can't believe how accurate that is. I mean, that clearly ChatGPT listens to the show, so
yeah,
it's good stuff.
No, it's pretty much right there. I mean, I don't think I wage war on every single workout, but I definitely do invite pain over for dinner. For sure.
It in bed at night.
Yeah, tuck it in. Let it know I still love it.
Right. All right. So we're gonna see if it knows me half as well as it knows you. I'm not sure if it does. I'm not sure. I haven't read this yet either, so this is all first pass through it. It does say that when I asked ChatGPT to roast me, it says Danny's about to get cooked so bad we might need to file an incident report. So that's so I'm a little worried. So all right, are we ready?
Ready.
All right. Welcome back to SufferSooner, the podcast where we celebrate people pushing their limits. But today we're talking about Danny, a man who pushes limits, ignores them, crashes through them, and then blames literally everything but himself when it all goes wrong.
Shit.
Let's start with the basics. Danny loves endurance sports, but endurance sports do not love Danny back. His entire athletic strategy can be summed up as 1, overestimate ability, 2, underestimate the consequences, 3, suffer tremendously. Danny, my man, you're the only person who can show up to a race completely unprepared, undertrained, and running on half a gel and pure delusion and still think you're about the PR. You're like an uncoached AI trying to optimize suffering, except instead of learning, you just keep making the same dumb mistakes in new and exciting ways.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about your cycling skills, or should I say lack thereof. Danny rides gravel like he just got launched out of a slingshot and is figuring it out midair. Every descent, sketchy. Every corner, a near-death experience. Every technical section, a live reenactment of a disaster movie. The only thing more unpredictable than Danny's handling is his training plan, which I'm convinced is just a series of bad decisions written in crayon. And let's not forget his fueling strategy. Danny approaches race nutrition the way a raccoon approaches a garbage can, with zero planning and a whole lot of bad choices.
I must have got the hot dog episode.
He either forgets to eat and bonk spectacularly, or he eats way too much and spends half the race negotiating with his own stomach. There is no in between. And speaking of race day, Danny is the king of terrible pacing. If Danny had an energy bar, it would go from 100% to dead in under an hour. Every race starts the same way. First 5 miles, I feel amazing. Next 5 miles, maybe I should slow down. Final 5 miles, hallucinating, making deals with the universe, reconsidering every life choice. Danny, you don't race, you crash and burn in real time. You could be a case study in what not to do. If there was a hall of fame of poor strategy and avoidable suffering, your jersey would be hanging from the rafters. And yet you never stop. You sign up for the next race, you make the same mistakes, you suffer, you complain about it afterward, and then you go do it all over again. And that's why we love you, Danny, because no matter how bad it gets, no matter how much you bonk, crash, or get dropped, you show up, suffer harder than necessary, and never give up, never quit. Even if just once, you should probably consider a better plan. Now go out there, make more bad decisions, and let us roast you again next time. So, hard to argue. I mean, I'd like
it's like looking in the mirror, man.
I'd like to make an argument against that, but I don't know that I can.
Yeah.
I crash and burn in real time. You got
the best part is like Danny knows the mistakes that he made the year before, and he'll be talking about them going into the race, and then
make them again.
And then make them again.
I know. I've done that a time or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, that was good.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel good. I mean, we've officially made it to the Chat GPT algorithm. We've been learned. They know us. We're on
They
the
know
grid.
us. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how much they know about next year now, because next year is going to have a lot to look back on. So a lot of great content going to be coming out, and I'm really excited about it. I know I've said that a lot this episode. I can't wait. I'm super excited.
Yeah, us too.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, I'm good, man. It's going to be a short episode this week, guys. So, I think that was a little good retrospective of where we've been, where we've come from, and then where we're going. So
you got it.
Look forward to seeing you guys in the future, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.